Let there be light. Welcome, brothers and sisters, my fellow citizens of the Republic of Zambia, to today's talk on the Light of Zambia channel. I'm your usual host, Proculious Mwape, Zambia's aspiring presidential candidate. So in today's video, I'll be discussing natural resource nationalization in the Republic of Zambia. As you may be already aware, the Light of Zambia project seeks to nationalize natural resources once voted into power. Now, before sharing my views or sharing my perspective on this particular topic, let me start by addressing the history, because as you may already be aware, Zambia has been on this path before. We nationalized mines during the reign of the late President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda in the 1970s under ZCCM, Zambia Consolidated Copper Mines. So I've been holding some consultative meetings, some consultative discussions with my fellow citizens of the Republic of Zambia, and two prominent views have come out of those consultative discussions. One of them is that because we tried to run the mines in the time of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, and eventually we failed to continue running these mines, which basically means running the natural resource, in this case minerals. That means that we are not capable of running these mines, and we are not capable of nationalizing natural resource, because we tried and failed in those days. So that is one of the views that is so prominent, the one that I keep meeting every time I share my idea with some of my brothers and sisters. Then the other one is that there are those that are holding a view that it was only during the time of nationalization, when Dr. Kenneth Kaunda nationalized minerals, that is the time when Zambia saw significant development taking place. Therefore, these are proposing that, or should I say, they are suggesting that it's better that we nationalize the mines, and that's the only time we can develop Zambia. That's the only time we can uplift our living standards as a people. So, in my case, as you may already be aware, or as you may already be informed, according to what I've indicated in my manifesto, the manifesto of the Light of Zambia project, I've said it clearly to say I'm going to nationalize natural resource. And when I say natural resources, I am not only talking about minerals. I'm talking about everything that is natural, from which we could derive some economic benefits as a nation. So that ranges from minerals, natural gas. We could talk of oil, if we happen to find oil in our country, and many other resources of that nature. And again, I have to emphasize here that when I'm talking about nationalization of natural resource, I'm strictly talking about natural resource nationalization. I'm not talking about nationalization of the economy. I'm not talking about nationalizing everything, every sector of the economy. No. So now let's go into the reasons, according to history, why natural resource nationalization failed in the time of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. By me going through these reasons, I want to clear the fears that these brothers and sisters are holding, those that are saying we cannot go down that path again because we've been there and we failed. So I'd like to show them the reasons why why natural resource or mineral nationalization failed during the time of KK. So one of the reasons is that according to history, properly recorded, you can go and look it up yourselves, and what I'm telling you is exactly what you're going to find. So the first and the major reason was that copper prices at some point fell. Copper prices collapsed on the global market. And because Zambia was heavily dependent on the proceeds that were coming from, or the revenues that were coming from copper sales, then it became very difficult for the country to operate. It became very difficult for it to handle its, for example, wage bill, to pay the civil service, and also to look at social responsibilities of the company. For example, Zambia Consolidated Copper Mines, because it was a company that was looking at the affairs of the cities in the mining cities, in the mining towns. So the major reason why that project failed was due to the collapsing of copper prices on the global market. Now, I think everyone now understands that copper prices are standing well on the global market, and we expect them to be so for the next foreseeable future, because we know that the world is now going towards renewable energy. They are going towards discarding of all these internal combustion engines that we find in vehicles that bring about a lot of CO2 emission, or carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide emission into our atmosphere, thereby damaging the atmosphere and affecting the weather patterns of our environment. So global governments, or governments globally, are trying to switch to renewable energy. They're trying to go electric in everything. So we know that for most of these electrical appliances to operate, they need copper wires to be in there. So that explains how well positioned copper as a commodity is on the global market, and it will continue being so for, I think, for the next, say, 100 years or so. Yeah, so we expect copper prices to keep rising, and that means those companies that will be involved into copper production, they will continue earning a lot of income. And that is exactly what we are also trying to fight for. As a country, we should be able to benefit from the natural resources that we have. And here we're not only talking about copper. We have so many other minerals, such as cobalt, nickel, and many other. Gold, emeralds, sugilite, and many others that I have not mentioned here. So you can see we are well positioned natural resource wise. The only problem that we have is that we are not able to, we are not managing these natural resources for our own benefit. Others are coming into our country, dig them out, go and sell them in their places and externalize the profits. Whereas we are only depending on the so-called tax and royalties, which I say they are never enough and they cannot develop a nation. That's why since the time of KK, or should I say, since the time UNIP got voted out of government, we've never seen serious infrastructure development taking place in our country. All these successive governments that have been coming on have just been doing small projects here and there, because they do not have enough money to build these pieces of infrastructure. Some of them, we understand that they demand a lot of money. For example, when you're building a road, a long stretch of a road, that will require you to spend a lot of money. Therefore, if we are going to develop Zambia and benefit from these natural resources that Zambia is endowed with, then we only have to think of nationalizing the mines. We only have to think of nationalizing these natural resources, because then we will not be depending on taxes and royalties. Instead, we'll be depending on the whole revenue, the whole profit that is realized from that, the selling of that product. Remember that tax is a very small figure. It's a very small portion of what has been sold, for example, or what has been realized as profit. For example, if you're talking about 100 kwaches, what has been sold, or 100 kwaches, what has been realized as profit, then they say 10% is tax. Then you're talking of a 10 kwacha. You are leaving a 90 kwacha in the hands of the foreign investor to go away with it. And here I'm talking about profit. I'm not talking about the sales value. I'm talking about profit after deducting all production costs and other overheads. So, brothers and sisters, we are giving away our monies, and what is surprising is no one of our brothers and sisters in these political parties is talking of nationalizing these mines. That means everyone would like to maintain the status quo, which is not helping our people. So, I encourage you, brothers and sisters, to support this project, the Light of Zambia project. Once I'm voted into office, I can assure you and I can promise you that these mines are going to be nationalized. Like I told you, like I said earlier, now we stand higher chances of running these mines and managing them better, because the products that we are getting from those mines are highly on demand on the global market. So we are not expecting to find ourselves in the situation in which the ZCCM of old found itself in. Now, the other factor that I have to talk about is during the time of KK, when he nationalized these mines, we had very few graduates in those days. And I think everyone understands that for an operation that is in the nature of mining, it demands or calls for a lot of qualified and skilled labor. And in the days of KK, I think everyone can agree with me that we had very few skilled labor or people that could offer skilled labor, because we had just gotten independence. Majority of our people were not educated. We are not professionals in these in the mining fields or the faculties that are to do with mining. But today, as we speak, we have a lot of university graduates that are graduating in civil engineering, mining engineering, metallurgy, and many other engineering courses. Not to talk about colleges that are giving us craftsmen, mechanics, and all these people that we need to operate the mines. So I very much believe that now we are better positioned to run these mines. The only thing that we are lacking today is the political will. We do not have that political will to cause us to head that direction, because to a large extent there are some of these brothers and sisters of ours who would like to maintain the status quo because they are benefiting from it. But that's not what we want. We want every Zambian, regardless of where they are coming from, they should be able to benefit from the natural resources that the Almighty has endowed us with. So, brothers and sisters, let us support this project. I can tell you that we are going to reap massive benefits once this project is fully implemented. So that is about nationalization of natural resources. And one other thing that I have to talk about is this trend of borrowing. If you've noticed, every government that has been coming, that has been succeeding, this government in, this government out, whichever government that we've had, they've all been thinking about borrowing more. There is no government that has not talked about IMF since the time of KK. I know even KK tried to secure a deal with IMF after the copper prices had fallen. But in those days, you could, of course, maybe give a justification as to why you wanted to head that direction. But in our time, we have all these resources, and we have gold, for example, we have sugilite, we have emeralds, which are highly expensive products, highly expensive resources, that once we offload them on the market, those could give us a lot of money that could even bail us out of the debts that we have. But it is so surprising that there is no one who is wanting to go that direction. So, especially for you, my brothers and sisters, the young people, I can tell you that, for example, look at the debt restructuring that is taking place now. People are busy clapping and feeling happy that something good has been achieved in Zambia. But I can tell you that restructuring doesn't mean it has been erased. It doesn't mean the debt has been deleted. No. The debt is still there, and at some point we are going to pay it. So who is going to pay it? For example, if the UPND government is going out of power in 2026, who is going to face that heavy burden of repaying the debt? It is the government that will follow after UPND. So you can see this is not an achievement that we have to be celebrating about. The only way we are going to get out of these debts is when and only when we nationalize our natural resources, because then we'll be able to realize enough money to be able to run our own affairs, to be able to finance our own budgets, national budget, and then be able also to handle these foreign debts that we have. So one other thing we have to keep in mind is that this borrowing that is taking place now, this borrowing that they keep, the debt they keep bringing into our country, it is debt that is borrowed against our GDP, gross domestic product. What that means is everyone in the country is somehow indebted because of the borrowing that this particular government, for example, the UPND could have done, or the PF could have done. So if you're going to sit idle and say, no, I think I'm fine, everything is okay in this government or in this running of things, where we have left the natural resource management in the hands of foreign multinational companies, and you don't feel to see anything wrong with that, I can tell you that you are also indebted. When they borrow, they are borrowing in your name also. And eventually that will also go down to your children when they start producing also. So it is not something that you can stay away from. That's why we as the young people, we have to stand up and make sure that we put a stop to this trend. It is not a good trend, especially for our future. If we continue on this trajectory, I can tell you that our future and the future of the children to come is very bleak. And that is not what we want for our country. So we have to do something. We have to make sure that we vote into power a government that is going to nationalize the natural resource. I can tell you, after nationalization, we'll only run these mines for a very short period of time, and they'll be able to bail us out of all these debts. So don't think it is something that is very difficult to achieve. We've seen a lot of governments in the world that have gone through this path and they've managed. Why would we fail? So there is no reason for us to fail, guys. There is no reason for us to fail, my brothers and sisters. Let us just see how we support each other until we make sure that we put in place a system of governance. Remember, the other thing that causes this thing to be the way it is, the other reason why we fail to run these mines is because of the governance system, the system of governance that we are using. Multinational companies are able to sponsor, or should I say, they are able to find how they could possibly secure their interests in our country through this system of governance. But when we introduce the Ubuntu model of governance that I keep talking about, the one that I would like to introduce in our country, Zambia, I can tell you that it will become very difficult for the multinationals to come and manipulate us. Because then we are going to go to our system, the system that is native, that is indigenous to us. And it will become very difficult for them to manipulate us. So brothers and sisters, let us work together. Remember, our friends, these that are coming in our country, if they make losses, they wouldn't be here. They are here because they are benefiting from our minerals. And as they are here also, they are looking at their future generations. Their children and the children of those children should find a good financial reserve that was prepared for them by their forefathers. Now in our case, what are we leaving to our children? You can see, it's almost nothing, because every time we are borrowing. So I believe we can change the situation, and it is all in our hands. The only thing we need is to hold our hands together and say no to neocolonialism. We know that's what it is. It's not hidden anymore. This is neo-colonialism. That's why we seem not to be ruling ourselves to a large extent. Which government does not give subsidies? For example, if you can look at the government of Germany, a very powerful nation in Europe, with a very strong economy, but they still have subsidies on fuel. But here we are told no subsidies on fuel. So that what? So that now we can collapse, the economy can properly fail. So, I know there are those that give reasons to say, no, we don't need to subsidize fuel because the rich people are taking advantage of that provision. They are getting a lot of fuel to run their economic operations and reap a lot of benefits from our subsidies. But I'm saying no. Why don't we introduce higher taxes for those? That's why I'm saying in my system of governance, those to pay taxes are only those that will be earning a certain amount of money. For example, 1 million per annum threshold. Those are the only ones that should be able to pay tax. So that when they are paying tax, they are bringing back that which they got through subsidies. So, brothers and sisters, we have the capacity. We have the capacity to change the situation for the better. But if we think this is not for us, then you are as good as saying, I don't care how my child is going to live after I'm gone. And I think that would be so irresponsible of a parent to think in such a way. So let us see to it that we implement a system that will work well for us. I can tell you, even if we nationalize mines today under this democracy, the representative kind of democracy that we have, it will only be there for a short period of time, and eventually someone else is going to come and change the situation again to the old system. That's why I'm saying we do not have to do it now in the current governance system, because again it will fail. Someone is going to get sponsored and rise up against whoever will be in power, so that when that one who will be sponsored forms government, then they will revert the system, the policy, to the old system of privatization. So, brothers and sisters, let us nationalize our natural resources. That is the only way we are going to benefit more, and that's the only way we are going to build our country the way we want it to be built. Everyone thinks of visiting Dubai at some point, UAE. Who doesn't think of visiting Dubai or wishing even to visit Dubai? It's almost everyone in Africa. Why? Because Dubai is well developed. Do you know the system that is operating there? The system of governance. Do your research. Alright, so brothers and sisters, this is where I'll have to end on this topic of nationalization. Of course, we'll be discussing more, because I've not talked about how it is going to be implemented, the steps that we're going to use, the action plan. All those things are already prepared. I'll be discussing those in the subsequent videos that will follow. So for now, until we meet next time, I'm saying let there be light.